And all. So I am back. Sorry about last week. But those things happen. So last week I got invited, or my family got invited to, it's one of those awkward ones for an Englishman, to an American place, American person's house, um, to celebrate the 4th of July, actually on the 5th of July. But by the time I finished our, which service was I doing? Our messy church. I didn't get there till 6:30, and there was no way. And then it took me about 10 minutes to try and get that message out. If you got the message that I wasn't going to be on the live stream, because when you do it on your phone, it's a lot harder, I found, than when you do it online. So that's basically where we were. So we were celebrating in one way or another, getting rid of those dastardly Americans. So I've done a poll because I went to the fridge and I don't know which one to have. So I got a beer and I got a Coke, and Billy says water. The door's closed now. The bar's closed. It's one or the other. In fact, if you want to know a secret, what I do, I connect my phone to my camera, and I'll have a Coke or something here. And the reason I have a Coke instead of water when I record my videos is I hold this up. My camera is on a manual focus, and I hold it up here to see where it's focused. And the reason I have to do that is when I put on my prompter, so I can focus it on my face. What I have to do is basically focus it on my face here, and then when I put the prompter on, it focuses like here. So I don't know why there's like a 5 to 10 centimeter gap between when I focus it and when I put the prompter on, because when I use my other camera, there's no shenanigans going on. So what I do is I hold up the Diet Coke and then I go like this, and I see if my face. So, there you go. That's the behind the scenes to what's happening on YouTube. Did I celebrate Star Wars Day too? No. In fact, we didn't celebrate the 4th of July, really. We just, there was some football on the 5th. We watched the football later. We had a barbecue, a lot of American food. So he's American. I think she's Puerto Rican, his wife. And they're here. He works for Netflix. So in this area where I live, because you have one of the big studios, Pinewood Studios, here, you get a lot of employees for like Netflix and film industry. So he's American and he's over, and he absolutely loves. He's one of these Americans who he's just so wants to be English, and a really lovely guy. And yeah, anything to celebrate. So we got sent up there, which was great, and yeah, had a lot of American food because they do cook well. So yeah, so that's where I was, and that was all fun. So I couldn't get online, but I'm here now, and this will be the last one before I go away, because obviously next Sunday England will be playing in the World Cup final, and we don't want to miss that. So, but also it's my last weekend with my family, so I want to spend it with them. So next weekend there won't be a live stream because it's the last weekend that I want to spend with my family, which is fair enough. So Billy, the poll is going Coke, 60% to 40% Coke. We'll end it when I need a drink. At which point I will just open one and go for that. So at the moment, Coke is winning. Billy, other creators do that. They hold their hand behind the object they want the camera to focus on. Yeah, it's just a funny thing. It's annoying because I actually stand further back from my other camera for my daily devotional. And when I put the teleprompter on there, absolutely fine. So it's something to do with the actual lens rather than the camera, because it's exactly the same camera. And I learned the hard way of going and recording an episode and then realizing that looks a bit blurry. What's going on? And then having to re-record the whole thing again. But that's just the way it is. I've learned now. HARLD. Good evening to you as well. Vincent, why don't you just drink regular Coke? I think diet drinks do more harm than good. I know that this does harm and good, but it's the amount of sugar in the Coke. And so it's between a bad thing and a bad thing, isn't it? And for a long time, I didn't drink Coke for a long, long time, like years. And it's only the past less than a year, my wife started buying it, and so it's always in the house now. And there's nothing at the moment like a cold Coke or cold beer, so it's always here. And I should drink more water, but yeah, that's what my bad thing. Vincent, I concur. England in the World Cup final, yes. Could you imagine? But they're all awesome. My brother just sent me about 10 minutes ago before I got online on Instagram these memes and these videos of Argentina and things like that, because obviously there are these things going around that Argentina is getting a bit of treatment that other teams don't get. And so so we'll see whether that comes up. But they are funny. There are people who are genuinely funny, and it's good to have that platform that they can get their content out on. That's the one good thing with social media now. All those ones who are genuinely funny, who wouldn't catch a break had it just been TV or radio, and now can get out there and actually become bigger than TV and radio. Paul Wayfarer, good morning to Australia. To you in Australia. Okay. Be good. It's GL. Be good. It's GL. Great to catch a live stream. It's good. Thank you for being with us as well. It's where we just come together and just chat, really. Billy, and decide what I'm going to drink. So, Billy, remember the Diet Coke adverts from years ago? People around the water tank in the office. We had a thing at work that if someone fit came in, Diet Coke on ad location. Till managers noticed. Oh, that's a smart thing. Yeah, I like that. Billy, I used to be like cherry Coke, but made me go nuts. Didn't know about the ADHD then. Yeah, so I do one thing. One of my favorite drinks is a Diet Coke with rum. I don't drink it that often. That's probably why it's one of my favorite drinks, because it's one that is more my premium type thing. The flavors just go well. Sylvia Boys, the sweetening Coke is far more harmful than the sugar. I know. I know. This is the thing, isn't it? Is when you know, and yet you still drink it. That's not the good thing. But you guys are telling me to drink the Coke over the beer, so it's a lose-lose situation. My wife told me that Estrella is made partly with rice, she said. I'm not sure. I haven't checked that. And I can't see anything. So maybe I'll check after. Where are we? Be good. Dark Coke is okay, says an endocrinologist that I follow on YouTube. If you have it in small quantities, the rest of the time, if you have fizzy water. Yeah, well, at the moment, I probably don't. I probably have 1 or 2 cans a day, which still isn't good. I think maybe a can every other day or every 2 or 3 days is good. It's when, when you have the, what do you call it? Remember where you put the coins in, like the old pennies or the 2p's, and you put them in a little dish and you put the Coke in and it absolutely strips everything. That we all know it's bad. We all know it always has been bad. Very good marketing, and we get addicted to it, and it's not good. Billy, is that called a Black Russian cola and rum? I just call it rum and Coke. and I appreciate item 5 on the General Synod, neurodiversity, felt so seen and validated. I bit it, and copper coins, yeah. You know one thing, because I'm kind of in and out of YouTube at the moment. So there's a couple of reasons. One, it's just so hot in this office. This office is stifling. It really has become, well, it really is the hottest room in the house. And to think that I sit in here with everything closed, with the lights on, with the computer running, is just not a fun thing. So that puts me off recording. Another, I look at the news at the moment, and sometimes it's dredging up news. I found that last year. I was just dredging up news to try and find new stories. And at the moment, there's not big things. General Synod is pulling up things at the moment. And I will look at the news. But at the moment, it has just been nice to have a break. And for the first time since, when was it, 2023? When I really started following General Synod all the time, I really haven't followed it. And I'm really not interested. And I tell you, one of the reasons why is, in one way, I know it's going to be same old, same old. There are going to be good things on the agenda. I'm not going to deny that, because it is the synod. But there are also going to be other things. And I made the video about the private members motion on same-sex relationships. But actually, I'm trying to find the balance. And what I've been researching this week, theologically, is between grumbling and lament, and what that really looks like. Because there's a danger, and I don't want to get into that area of just grumbling and nothing changes, and attacking the situation and people around it, and rather than and understanding that. And what's lament, looking back in the Old Testament, God, why are you letting this happen? I see all this around me, and Lord, and crying out to God. And I suppose there's a few years of doing YouTube now, and perspective, what changes or what could be changed. And another reason, I'm going on this very excited trip. And so the negativity of the news is really taking a backseat, the negativity of where we are as a church. So slightly less, I probably will make a video or two this week. But it's an interesting journey, and which I know a lot of you are on, because there's a responsibility of having YouTube as well, in trying not just to create a negativity and a grumbling, because fine, we can do that, but we all know now, after so many years, and this goes beyond February 2023, way back, that the church, it is not great in places. So is grumbling good, or is there a lament? And I think there's a lament, but there has to be a change. And that fits in with everything else that I say about the local church and the power being back in the local church. Synod can legislate these things and do these things, but really it's the local church, knowing the local people, and it's ground root. It's ground roots. It's grassroots stuff. So yeah, so there's a lot of thinking, and I think that's a good thing. It is a responsibility to carry. So it's overwhelmingly Diet Coke. So I'm going to end the poll and put some really bad sweeteners into myself, because I need a drink. My voice is ropey. Oh, here's some quite interesting what happened to me. So my daughter, on Friday, their school finishes a week on Wednesday, but they had a kind of afternoon for the kids, well, from 4:30 until 6 o'clock with the kids, and they got bouncy castles and stuff. And then once the kids are finished at 6 o'clock, the parents can go onto the field with all these things and enjoy the end of term festivities. So I go there with my daughter's there, and I go with my wife and my son, and they got a bar there. And so we just get a bottle of beer, which is, I don't know what we got, the Mexican one, Corona. And so I go over to one of the football managers. If you've been here before, I'll give you a bit of a context. When I got to my village, there were no children's football teams in the village, and a couple of guys wanted to start in a local church league that's been running for years on the Saturday. And what's happened is now we got 3 teams, 2 under 13s called the Yellow and the Blacks, because they're called the Wasps, and I think there's an under 9 team has started as well. So it's really fantastic news. The Yellows, what happened is they got through to the final of the cup, and it was played at Chalfont St Peter. Now Chalfont St Peter got a stadium, and they lost, I think it might be 1-0 or something in the final. Anyway, it turns out, and there was a lot of suspicion, they played Denham. And remember, this is a church league. It's more of a fun league. It's a Saturday league, not a Sunday league. The manager of Denham, who, I tell you what, hearing from the sidelines, the way that he spoke to the children on the pitch was quite interesting. How you speak to kids, and not a way that you would speak to children, in my opinion. He put a ringer in who was a year above, and that kid scored the winning goal. But also, it turns out, as I was speaking to the manager, this kid who was the year above had been playing in the league, and so the manager, or the 2 managers, put a complaint in, got investigated. They got kicked out the cup, so they lost the cup. So they won the cup on the day and they lost it, which is a shame because it took away from the boys having the presentation and lifting the cup. But they have won the cup. And then it turns out that because they had the ringer in for the league, they got stripped of the league title. And the Blacks, the other side of the under 13s, won the league, which is great. But again, they got... they didn't get to celebrate it during that last game. So it kind of is a bittersweet thing. Anyway, so I get this beer and I speak to the manager. I haven't had this beer for long. And I'm there and we're just chatting. And I take a swig and I feel something in my mouth. But it's too far. It's going down my throat. And I'm like, I can either cough this up in the middle of a conversation or I just swallow because it's just so far. Anyway. Turns out, I don't know what it was, a wasp or a hornet. It stung me in my throat. And I'm like, oh, interesting. So to test it as it's swelling up, I keep having a little sip of beer to see, and I feel like I'd definitely been stung. I was okay. I came home with my son just in case anything was bad. I'd had antihistamines and paracetamol, and it was just uncomfortable for about 2 hours. The swelling went down, but I was monitoring. I got some cold water and I was drinking to make sure that I could still swallow. But the soreness was still there for probably about 48 hours. But I've never been stung in the throat. But now I can say that I've been stung in the throat. But yeah, that was crazy. So good news for our boys' teams. Sad that they couldn't get to celebrate. And I can now say I've been stung in the throat. Not something you do every day, or want to. To be honest, I wouldn't want to get stung again like that. Billy, did I get my tech t-shirts in the end? Yes, I got those ones that cost £5 for 5, so 25 quid for. So, and remember, the context is I did work in a very expensive outdoor shop, so I would even tell myself not to do that. But I did go on a motorbike ride to Watford and back to test them in my jacket, and they actually worked really well. Probably not like perfect, but they were 85%, 90% there. So I'm happy with that. So yes, I got them. And I tested my new socks. It's just going to be hot. The trip is just going to be hot. That's the thing. It will be hot. Be good. Weekly prayer specifically for the UK, not just Sundays. That's, so with General Synod and all that. I think every church should be playing, you know what, for the church's mission, really, to really get enabled and get out there on a Sunday corporately, but praying in the week as well. And sorry, my wife has just texted me. And Paul Wayfair, we only get flies who drown themselves in your drink. I think. Well, I also ate. I thought that I also ate. Not that I ate it. It had no choice. I swallowed the wasp or the hornet, whatever it might be. And then I did think of that nursery rhyme, the woman who swallowed a fly, who swallowed I forgot what it is. But I did think of that. Each swallowing each one. It's and I was there. So that was an interesting experience. The what else? There was something else I was going to say, but I'll have to try and remember as we go on. One thing that I did worry about was I didn't know if the barb, as it were, got stuck in my throat. That was one worry, and I didn't really or couldn't really eat because it was a bit sore. But it's not there, obviously, because I've had dinner since Friday. So, Billy, based on the old school life skill of put a wet paper towel on it for anything that happened at school. I put a wet kitchen towel on the freezer briefly, and the crispy result on the back. Neck felt nice. She followed us why, and she thought she would die. There was a moment where I stood there realizing it was bad or potentially bad. You know, when you have those realizations, rare in life, thank God. But I realized I'd been stung in the throat. You hear all the horror stories, and I'm like, well, this is going to be interesting. It's funny how your thought process is. But I knew that there were a lot of people there, you know, so it's probably the best place to get it done. Billy, only the bees leave the stinger, wasp sting and go. Yeah, I think it was the worry that it broke off, you know, or anything like that. And it definitely wasn't a bee. It actually felt quite small. But what surprised me is I was only there for 2 or 3 minutes chatting when this thing found me in the middle of a field and got into the top of a little pot. It was very unfortunate, but it is what it is. People preparing biros and vodka in case you need emergency airway in your throat. People prepping biros and vodka. Yeah, could you imagine? It's one of those things when you kind of realize it's what happened to my dad when he died. We lived 15 miles away from the city. Not that we think after that, even if we lived in the city, he might have survived. But when you're out in the sticks, as pretty as it is, the further the ambulance has got to go, percentages come down. So that was, yeah. So, Harold, HARLD, what did I think of the World Cup prayer? I haven't read it, to be honest, because the stuff that, okay. I've seen parts of it, that's come up because in the papers, because of there's been pushback on it. I've seen people saying, well, it's not for Christians and it's not a collect, it's to engage with people. So I get that argument because I speak in a different way if people aren't Christians. But I also get there's been a lot of backlash off the church. It's hard to say where I would stand because I haven't read it. But let's just say I haven't read it because I'm not really interested in the content that the Church of England put out. That I've seen stuff before and it doesn't really engage. It doesn't really, is it useful to me or to others? And I think this is what has been asked at General Synod by someone in a private members motion. And I like I said, I haven't seen any General Synod by the grace of God, by the way, by the grace of God, that I don't know what became of it. I don't know what was said in the debate. I think there's a question of what are you putting out and who's it for? And so that's I think with the World Cup prayer, if the context is for this group and we wrote it in that way because we want to engage with people, and so we want to, that might give some understanding. But if it's for a group of non-Christians, then it should be really explicit about Jesus and engaging. This is what we believe in. So, and that's, I think, what the pushback has been. So, yes. But I think the bigger thing is not just the prayer, but I think it's if everyday people from the Church of England aren't engaging in the Church of England content, who is? And why? And why aren't the others? There's far more interesting stuff. But the Church of England, and I think they've done it. They put out some, some of the I'm wearing a very tight shirt. I need to. It's too tight still. It's my short sleeve shirt. Look, I've only got one, and so it's a lot cooler. But it's. I bought it when I was a lot thinner. I think they have done it. The history. There's a lot of on Instagram. A lot of channels that I followed that talk about history, which is something quite interesting to me. I did archaeology at uni, and we got so much of that to engage with people in the Church of England. But I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'll go back and see what they said. Liam MCF. You might bring George Eliot's scenes of a clerical life to a whole new level with what with the cola. I haven't seen that. What's George Eliot's scenes of a clerical? I'll have to Google. I'll have to Google this now. It's another. No. Another chat came in, so it moved it up. Oh, we talked about this before. I'll have a look. I've never seen it. Be good. I have to say, allergies build up. Speak to a GP if you may need an EpiPen for the next time. Hopefully there won't be a next time. Exactly. And to be honest, at the school, they will have an EpiPen. That's the other thing, from what my wife said. If there's one place to have an EpiPen, it would be at school. So, yeah, interesting. Strangely, I like those experiences because they're very rare, and the reaction to it. My reaction was, I was more interested in what was happening. Interesting. Yeah, it's about halfway. I can still breathe, but when I drink, I can definitely feel half my throat is swollen. Yeah, that's no, it's not getting any bigger. Okay, not feeling logical minds. Be good, sensible to keep antihistamines around. I don't take antihistamines, but my wife takes them, and so she knew. She was like, "Right, I got some in the cupboard there." I don't take medicines. It sounds bad, unless I have to. The medicines and the amount of medicines pumped into my mum over years was what killed her. So bad when she was in hospital, we couldn't see her when she died. They said, you can't see her body. Or we recommend, they didn't say you can't see her body. They said, we recommend you don't see her body because the drugs because the drugs work while you're alive in a certain way. But when you die, they really, and I don't know what they did, but it was enough for them to say, you don't want to remember your mum that way. And I'm like, well, if I don't need to put it in my body, I'm not going to put it in my body. But it's not like I'm against her, but I only have it when I need to. Billy, a friend says, give it to God when they struggle with a situation. How do you give a situation to God without still holding on to an outcome? Ooh, I did Psalm 27 today, and it's about the nearness to God. David in the first half of the psalm is praising, and in the second half is crying out. And it was all about, as Christians, we will go through. There's no doubt that we are protected, from ever going through a struggle again. But we will go through struggles. But it's knowing that God is with us in those struggles, and knowing that whatever the outcome is, he works all things for our good. And I think that psalm will not be up for a couple of weeks because our administrator is off on holiday and coming back not next week, the week after next. So all our sermons need to catch up. But definitely in a couple of weeks, that'll be up online on our church website. And there is something about knowing the nearness of God in those situations and handing it over to him, and trusting that whatever the outcome, that we are held by him. Liam CF, it's a novel. Okay. Yeah, I got it here. Oh, I see lots of books. I Googled it, so I will have a look. Is it good? And do they do an audiobook version? So, on Amazon, it's £72. If you got one, you can make some money on that. My voice is going funny again. Where were we? Or where was I? Michael Holland, Dan, do you think Anne Whitcomb died a martyr, as I'm reading on some of the Roman Catholic sites? I don't know until we know what happened. I saw a headline, I brought it up before. It's one of these stories that you keep your eye on. And it says, please say no suggestion of political motivation. We don't know why this person murdered her. Was it because of her faith? I don't know. We don't know. I think it's too early to speculate. What we can know and have with confidence, because she was a woman of great faith, that she is with Jesus. And that's the good news to tell people. And I do hope, she was quite a formidable woman and in such tragic circumstances and must have been horrific in those last moments, that she did fight or say something. Remember that French priest who got killed and perhaps beheaded by those two Islamists in France, in Paris? And I think one of his final words was, "Get away from me, Satan." That was just so powerful. That was just so powerful. So I don't know what happened. I say it's too early to say whether she died a martyr for her faith, but we know she's with Jesus, and that's the most important thing. And we might get up there because we might not ever know. We have to hold that. But when we get to heaven, we'll find out. But I think the best thing is to find out that she's there. Well, let's remind that we are there. That we made it, that we didn't get it all wrong. And you have to confess that Jesus is Lord and believe in our hearts and really truly believe that. And we're there. I met some people after church from Germany who popped in, and we had a massive conversation, and come from a Roman Catholic background. That was an interesting conversation. As an Anglican, they were over here for a wedding, and we were having a discussion about what we believe, and like, wow, you're married and you've got children, and yeah. So Billy, Rev Dan survived a beer attack in the drink, but was taken down by his shirt. Yes, yes. I couldn't have worn the shirt that day, because my neck would have swollen and just choked myself. Yeah. Well, it's not taken by a shirt. It's taken down by not exercising properly. Oh no, actually, sorry, it was my fractured ankle. That was it. And then the laziness and the lack of motivation that came. I'm sure that I would lose the puppy fat over 6 weeks touring Europe without that many meals. So, be good. Yes, I believe Anne died a Catholic martyr. When I was praying, all I could hear was death. Where is thy sting? Where is thy victory? You know, we'll see. We'll see. I think let's just praise God that she had such a faith, and I think the big thing is whether she's a martyr or not. I mean, dying for her faith, as it were, being murdered for her faith, rather than any other thing, is that she witnessed to the person who did that to her. That would be the most powerful thing that she would have done. That the person who killed her then ends up becoming a Christian because of something that she did or said right in those moments. Billy, so remembering that he does things to prosper us, not to harm us. Yeah. And knowing that he's with us in those times. That's the nearness to God. That's, read Psalm 27 and what David is saying. God doesn't, we think God draws away from us, or we think that we base it on a point system. We've done something bad and we get a -1 point, or we've done something good, so we get +1 point. And we can go through a difficult time and think that we got minus points, so why would God deal with us and be with us? But he's there. And sometimes we just need to travel through it. And we might not hear him, but we're doing the right thing. He doesn't need to give us instruction, but there's something about knowing that he is there. That's what gives kids the confidence when they first start to ride a bike, isn't it? Because they can feel their dad or mum running after them, and they feel like I can go further because I could be caught. And then they get this excitement, and they ride up because they're like, I'm strong. But they know, even if they're not close, that they're there to protect them. And I think there is something to know that God is there. So Billy, yep. TP, smiley. Billy, hello. TP, just listen to Jacob Rees-Mogg on TP. Police have told us not to speculate. I think, it could be one of those things. And I saw someone say, was it Farage said, it could be one of those Jill Dando. They might catch the killer, but you might not ever say. And they might try to work things out, but we just might not ever know. We might, but we might not. So, but it is just tragic. It's just the world we live in. And what we have to hold, though, I know Anne Widdecombe and she would hold this as a Christian, was very well known. And it's a tragedy, but everybody who gets murdered, whose life is taken before their time, is such a tragedy. And a lot of people don't get this speculation and things, but die in horrific circumstances. And we have to not lose them, because they're just not known. That's another thing. Billy, trying to find the courage to have first communion. Don't feel worthy. Is communion both remembering Jesus' sacrifice for us all, but also about us fully surrendering to him as well? Oh, communion is looking back to Jesus' institution and that Maundy Thursday, that Last Supper and Good Friday. This is looking back to him speaking to his disciples and setting all that up, and the whole Easter weekend, and his body broken for us, his blood spilled out for us, that reconciling ourselves to God. It's also looking to the future, because Jesus says, I will not drink this wine again until the banquet, the heavenly banquet. So when Jesus returns, and we're going to have that big party, that heavenly banquet, and Jesus is going to have that wine. And as we're sitting there, we're going to go, the last time you drank wine was with your disciples, and now you're drinking it with us. That's quite a big thing, and we're going to be there. But it's also, it's kind of like an individual thing, but communion is with lots of people. So we're meeting Christ in the bread and the wine, however, whatever you think is happening. But also we're joining with our brothers and sisters around the world as well to come to meet Christ, as it were, at the table. So, and then there's other things will happen, looking back, looking forward, and in that moment. So I would say you've already surrendered to him. And that's a once, when you declare Jesus in your Lord and Savior, that's happened. You will receive the Holy Spirit. We're there. So there's nothing about not feeling worthy, because Jesus has made that way for you. He's changed that story. There isn't anything unworthy about you now. He's taken that away. That's what you're thinking. You can come to the table. You are invited. He's made that way. So don't feel that you feel unworthy. Yeah, it's that he died for us all, but it's also not just like I said, the past. It's the future. It's looking forward to what's to come as well as that moment joining our brothers and sisters around the world. You know, when we receive communion, it's with everybody, but with our underground those churches, our brothers and sisters in China, in North Korea, in Nigeria, who might today be slaughtered, but they still go to church, or beaten. We're joining with them. So just to enter into it, and don't think yourself unworthy, because Jesus made you worthy. And really helps. That's what I'm trying to do. Not everything I say might land, but pray to God that something does. Or if it doesn't land tonight, they might make sense in the future. Mr. Baker, R.I.P. Miss Widdicombe, thanking God for your life and witness. And that's the thing, a witness as well. An evening to you. Be good, amen, as well. Mr. Baker, it's getting windy this evening, storm brewing. Everything's dry. I drove through Chorley Wood, and it's got a big cricket pitch there, and it's a brown cricket pitch at the moment, very brown. Everything's getting dry, but that's very exposed. Place like that, cricket pitches, there's still a lot of green around where I am. But the exciting thing when everything gets brown like this is more archaeology comes to the surface, and with the drones you can get up and look down and discover. When it gets into the dry season like this, they discover so much more archaeology, which is quite cool. So there's always a good thing out there. It might be negative, but there's also good there. Hareld. I thought there was an A in there. Did you change that? I have to imagine him rolling his eyes when I pray. Who? I lost that. Who? I'm trying to think back. You might need to remind me. TP seems unreal, like Midsummer Murders come to life. When I worked in Oxford, used to say that. There was in Oxford, there was a TV program because they shut down the streets a lot to record it. It was the older guy, grey hair, and the younger guy with brown hair. And the older guy died, and then they remade it with the younger guy taking the priest detective lead. And I forgot what it is. If Frances was here, I don't know if Frances is here. She's my go-to with all the, that's it, Billy Morse. That was it, Morse. And so a lot of tourists would come into where I worked and would say, Oxford's so beautiful. And I was like, we have a murder every week. Like, it's not. There you go, Francis. Yeah, it's one of these places. Midsummer comes to life. We watch it on TV and we think it's all quaint and stuff. All these countryside places where people get knocked off by the local vicar. But this is the reality, and it completely changes. Paul Wayfair, is it scriptural tradition that laity can't have communion without a priest? Because we have so many parishes that don't have priests, so they can have communion, which seems they can't have communion, which seems unfair. There's a whole thing about order going through the early church. So before there were really priests doing communion was being had, whether it meals or bread and wine. But, as we read in the New Testament, weird things were happening. And so that continued after the New Testament. And it really came into the church about order to have communion. And then it was about, and with that tradition as well, that only priests could do communion. But when you look back, yes, within certain traditions, it'll be like, only priests can do communion, blah, blah, blah. And there's all these rules and stuff like that, which are being introduced, by the way, because you don't see those rules at the start. You see them introduced later. So I think, how do I put this without putting myself in trouble in the Church of England? So in different denominations, they have communion and there's not a priest to do it. And in some places, in some denominations, people just do it at home and they read 1 Corinthians 11 and say those words and share communion together. In the Church of England, though, because of our rules and the way we do it, the priest does it. So when I go on my sabbatical, if the priest, a visiting priest, is ill or can't get here, then they don't have communion. But in other denominations, they can. Now, it's take of that what you can. If you know what I mean. Billy, thank you so much. That really helps so much. Thanks be to God for the safe space for us together each week from around the world. Exactly, from around the world. That's the grace, isn't it? So yeah, I must say with the Catholics amongst us, Mr. Baker would go heretic. That is some of the theology that the priest acts as, in a sense, the person in between us and God. Again, not there in the early Testament. So you could say in Corinth, were they really having communion if the priest wasn't doing it? So, but that's a big theological discussion, perhaps. I'd probably get I'm probably quite low on this, low church rather than a high church. Be good, the exegesis of Christ. Oh, I'm losing my train of thought as well. Is that am I still in the conversation of commune. Might be. I think it is. Francis from the reserved sacrament. We don't reserve sacrament in our church. And that would be communion by extension, which we wouldn't do except in rare circumstances. But we've got good people coming to our church. We've got bishops and archdeacons and other rectors and good people coming to. I might get back and they go, well, it's been lovely your way. Could you go away a bit longer? Because we really enjoyed all these other people. It's interesting how many people, when you go on sabbatical, say, are you coming back? Are you coming back? There's such a thing, and it is true, that they go on sabbatical, and it's not that they don't come back, they have to come back, but they leave not long after or start looking for other jobs. But I've only been here 4.5 years, and it really is just timing rather than looking to move away. So I can say quite confidently, I'm not leaving. I think you have put an E in there. Anyway, it was in response to you talking about God being with. Oh, okay. So and I'm trying to look. Where would I'm trying to look on the other one. I have to imagine him rolling his eyes when I pray. Oh, when God rolls. Oh, okay. No, he doesn't roll his eyes. He intently listens to every word we say, even if we haven't got them wrong. That's why the Holy Spirit is there to interpret what we're saying, because we always get it wrong or ask for the wrong thing. TP, wish it would be hot again. The heat, it would be nice for a bit of rain and it to be quite cool. I mean, I got the back window open there. I should have opened this window here. I didn't, silly. But the wind is coming. It's getting quite hot in this office. I'm looking forward to a bit of cool air in my house. Billy, I struggle with an online Christian service where the vicar had his clerical shirt divided down the middle, half blue, half red, and wore a red jacket. He spoke more about football and how the shirt colour was reflecting his sports team colours. Am I being a Pharisee? Am I right to be concerned? That would be, yeah. Like, it's not about us. We are there to serve. And we have our personalities and we have so people say to me, like, because I wear my full robes like I did today. I wore all my robes on a hot day. Our choir didn't because it was too hot, but I did. And people say to me, well, why don't you wear shorts? And I'm like, because we're coming to worship God and it feels like just a bit weird, like, to do communion in shorts. Like, nobody would know, but it would just be, for me, like, disrespectful. So, and we have a uniform. Yeah. I mean, like, in one sense, you can wear that, but you don't need to make it about you. I don't want to comment on that because I haven't seen the video or so what he says, but I would be a bit concerned. And so it's like I say, I do all this online commentary about the state of the church and stuff. If people came to my church to think they're going to hear me speak about any of that on the pulpit, they would be severely disappointed, because the pulpit, unless it's very contextual, rarely, maybe once or twice in 3.5 years, however long I've been doing the commentary, I might have said something in the context of that. But the sermon is not about that. It's about edifying people and not shoehorning things in because people know me for this online. So if anyone turned up at my church and they're going, oh, we're going to hear Rev Dan speak about this topic or that topic, you're going to be hearing me speak about the gospel, speak about how we live our Christian lives, the challenges, building people up, bringing people closer to God and myself at the same time. So yeah, there is a thing there to be aware of. Mr. Baker, but Rev, doesn't the priest have to consecrate the wafers, work of human hands into the body of Christ, Corpus Christi? Yeah. And so I'm going to be fair. That's a theology of, that would be a higher theology. That, yeah, I get that. I just don't, it's like with baptism. And I think most people say baptism can be done by anybody. Do you need a priest to baptize? It's nice, and people like that. And I'm not taking the role of the priest, because the priest is a role definitely consecrated by God, ordained in the church and things. But I would say my theology isn't so high there. So Rockstar, hello, long time no see. I hope you're well. We are well. Good to have you back. It has been a long time, actually. Russell and Valerie and I wish you a fantastic trip on your penny farthing. Keep saying Rev Dan. They got to see my bike, those who came to my little day. It will be amazing. It's only a week and a half away. I am doing two things, trying to get everything ready for the church for the next 3 months without me, which isn't too much, really. It's because I'm not that important. We got such good people in the church. And getting ready for my trip. And my office behind me is a bomb site, as I'm got all my luggage and my stuff, as I'm kind of packing and working out balance on the bike and things like that. So yeah, it's there. So rocket star. Silver rocket star. Why do I always say rock star? It sounds, well, I don't know. I've been going to a Catholic church. There really is a very little difference in the service, except for a couple of Hail Marys. Even have women's service. Yeah. I speak to the guy who was going around Europe with, who's very high Anglo-Catholic. You know, women can be ordained deacons, but not priests. And they go around in their collars, you know, because they're ordained deacons. But they can't do blessings and communion. So, really, respectfully, it was a Church of England online service, and I didn't make it to the end of the service. I felt like one Job. It's Sunday. I'm here for God. Team Jesus, not football. You're fine, Rev Dan, but it threw me. I was at a Church of England's online service. That's crazy. Maybe it goes back to what we were saying before, and the content that they put out. Maybe I should be fair and say I should look at it to understand the context. It's a bit unfair talking about something without knowing the context, because I do that in my videos. If you notice now, I go and research, because there's people out there who don't read documents. They just sprout out stuff. Kieran, a layperson can baptize in emergencies according to the prayer book. Yeah. And if a layperson can baptize it in emergencies, that baptism holds. So it's like saying in the Church of England only there's a big argument, only bishops can do confirmation. But people say, but they, you know, priests can do the confirmation. So there's a lot of theology out there, and it depends where you are on the candle. Paul Wayfair, aren't we all priests? The veil was torn and we can approach God. That's one of the arguments. The priesthood are believers. You know, people who are called to be vicars are called, again, it's this theology on a different level. If you're Methodist, Baptist, Anglican, Catholic, we're all Orthodox, we'll all see different ways. And because the Anglican Church is very broad, we'll see it different ways. This is why it's interesting with my friend, going around Europe with my friend for 6 weeks, because we see it differently ourselves. And the funny thing is, he he would dish out baptism willy-nilly and communion. Anyone can have it. Anyone. And I'm like, really? Because I wouldn't say anyone. I would be a bit more, because the Church of England with baptism say anyone can be baptized. And I'm more like along the lines of believers' baptism or for children being brought up in a Christian family. You know, outside of that, it's slightly, you know, we pray for the children to become Christian as a church, and as I do, that those children through that. But he's like, oh no, give it to everyone. You know, it doesn't matter. It's the grace of God. So even with communion, he'll say, oh, anyone. And I'm like, really? Even if you know there's unrepentant sin and they shouldn't really be at baptism because you need to protect them, heaping coals on their heads. Nah, grace of God. So I understand there's different theologies, and I understand that we will all find out at the end that we were all wrong, more than we were right. But we try to do our best. Be good. Yes, God provides the rule. Yeah, I don't know the context, but that is, you know, we try to follow God. Follow God's commands on this. But, you know, these things, by the way, aren't fast order issues. They're not going to stop us getting to heaven. If someone does communion at home and says the words from 1 Corinthians, or goes to a Roman Catholic church or an Anglican church or a Baptist church and have communion, you know, I don't think that none of that is going to stop us going to heaven. It's not a first order issue. Mr. Baker, baptism should be done by clergy, but emergent baptism can be done by any professional practicing Christian as long as done in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. I think that from the past, is that from the Catholic point of view? Again, because you've got a question theologically, why only in emergencies? Does it take if they're laity? What, you know, is it the emergency that makes the baptism take? That's the question. I'm having this problem again. So we did the vote. You said Coke, and I forgot. Coke really makes me gaseoso. So, Russell Valerie, I seem to recall that there was something in the Old Testament that indicated that we are all priests. The priesthood of all believers. New Testament, but might be in the Old Testament as well. I'd have to Google, not Google, read. Mr. Baker, and with holy water, I think, but need to check. Yeah, it's always got to be done with holy water. Always got to be done. But that's just a prayer blessing over the water, because that God setting the water aside, as it were, this is set aside. Once, when I was in my curacy church, it was funny. We had a baptism team, and one in the big brass jug, they forgot to fill it up for the baptism. So my training comer was doing the baptism. He picked it up, and there was no water. It was like, oh, so we had within the church building, within the main church building, we had a kitchen in the corner, and so they went back to the kitchen and got some water out, and you kind of heard this like, oh, from those people visiting, because they I don't know, they must have thought they didn't think that the water came out of a tap. They must have thought during the night the angels brought it down on leaves or something, because the reaction was like, oh, like a slight disappointment the water was coming out of the tap. But that's the normality of it, isn't it? The you know, what God has given, and then he blesses to make holy. I think that it wouldn't be right if angels brought water down, because you want the normality of the water to be set aside. But it was funny. Billy didn't want to make it personal about a specific individual. I'll put the link in. Okay. No, it's not. But also, if you know, if they are not doing right, as with me. You need to hear that, you know, you're not doing right. You're saying the wrong thing. Be careful. And then you can assess. Be good. I did a temporary baptism once on a person who had expressed a desire to be baptized. You can't do temporary. I would say that would be one thing. I was speaking to a Catholic lady today who's talked about baptism, and I said, "Have you been baptized?" They said, "Yes." I said, "Well, it's done. We can't do it again. You can't do a temporary baptism. Baptism is once and forever." Billy, do you want me to post a link to the video of the CE service I was referring to? Don't want to disrespect anyone. No, I mean, look, they put that out online. They check it, they edit it, and that's on them. If it is not up to it, then that's on them. You're not disrespecting anyone. But we can then assess and have our opinion. So a rocket star, C of E has living in love and faith. Catholics excommunicating those doing the Latin rite. Is anybody in Christchurch not in schism or schism? Lord help us. But this is the you hear when I mentioned earlier about the German people who visited my church after the service. They said, "But wasn't there supposed to be one church?" I said, "Yes." And then we started arguing over everything. And now there's so many different denominations. And it will continue. And it will continue because we're broken. They were telling me about being in church in Germany and how strict it was and how strict their upbringing was. It's just the way we are. I think it can be very personality driven as well, can't it? Certain people got certain personalities and they like the rules and that's what they put out. But again, that's what I'm trying to do online, truth and grace, to hold both. I'm more truth. I really am more truth. And I'm trying to learn the grace and be more graceful and understand that and speak to people who wouldn't agree with me and have those conversations. And yeah, but we are not good. We're good at disunity, not good at unity. So be good. The sad person was in danger of death, and there wasn't anyone qualified around. Oh wait, did I miss something? Oh right. Oh, I see. Oh, in the context of the said person, not the sad person. Complete context change there. Was in danger of death, and there wasn't anyone qualified around. But you're qualified. You're qualified. But their baptism took. Russell Valerie, heat. Did someone mention heat? We just had our first church camping weekend. Positively baking. Oh wow! All those nylon tents. Oh, hot. My friend did say to me, text me a couple of days ago about the European trip. I might not take my tent. I put my tent up, and forgot it has 2 doors, and so I can keep those doors open and keep a draft through. I also bought myself a little, and it's usually on my desk at the moment, a little fan like this, like a shape, like an A4 shape, and to put in my tent, keep the air flowing. It's operated by battery and it will run all night. But I gave it to my wife last night. So, but yes, those. So when I worked at Cotswold Outdoor, we would have tent shows. And in the morning, we would go over and open the tents. And it's all through the summer. And you would open the tents and the heat and the humidity of those tents was horrible. Polycotton, that's the way to go. I got a big family polycotton tent. They do not hold humidity. That's a game changer. But they're very expensive. But you can sleep in them in the heat and then come out with a little kind of smug look on. How did you sleep? JKK, how would you respond to a non-Christian who thinks that choosing whether or not to have sex before marriage is no different? Okay, 1 second. How would you respond to a non-Christian who thinks that choosing whether or not to have sex before marriage is no different than the decision as choosing to kiss before marriage? It's hugely massively. Okay, so how would we? I spoke to actually the German people about this today. The lady asked the question about sex before marriage and how we see it as Anglicans, and so we can speak about it from our perspective and a Christian perspective. But if they're not, we want to speak about it from their perspective. Sometimes it's good to put it in their court, you know. You could go with, what's the consequence? I speak about this. What's the consequence? What's the consequence of having sex inside marriage if you have an accident and your wife gets pregnant and you're not planning it, but your wife gets pregnant? And what's the implications? Well, you're in a marriage, you might go, oh, we weren't planning this, but you have the stability, you have the structure, you have the love. The baby can be brought up with a mum and a dad. What is it when you're not in a marriage? The consequence, same. The woman gets pregnant. Now you could stay together. It might end positively. The man might go, you know what? The best thing to do is to get married. Okay, great. Not the order of things that should be done in, but it's a positive outcome. But what else could happen? They go, the man goes off. And I'm not saying it won't happen in the married people. They could choose to have an abortion. Christians should never do that, but non-Christians would see that as an option. They could choose to have an abortion. The man could go off. They might not stay married and try bring a child up that way. They might be living separately, and so the child is brought up with parents living separately, which would be dysfunctional to the child. So, what I'm saying is sex has a consequence, and kissing a boyfriend and girlfriend doesn't. Was the biggest consequence a bit of food or something gross, like, in that way. But there's no consequence that it starts to involve another life. So it has to be different. But just outside of that as well, there's consequence of not just having a baby, there's consequence of STIs, especially if there's multiple partners. There's the consequence of who is it? I have to remember who does cross-examined. Frank Turk speaks about this. Sex is not just a physical, it's a spiritual, it's an emotional, it's hugely on this level. And it's the intimacy. And so you're entering into something when you're not married, which is quite a huge thing. And you don't forget those moments. You might forget moments that you kissed lots of people. I don't think you forget the moments that you had sex with people. So you're entering into things like that. So I think, like, it's a long answer. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud and going across different things, but trying to get it across. If they're not, because they're not Christian, it's trying to get them to think in a way that isn't Christian, but trying to understand on their terms. Kissing is no consequence. Sex can have a consequence. So they have to be different. They have to be different. Billy, with all the heat, you'll have your own personal sauna on your bike. You'll come back a stick figure. I know. I'm going to sweat it out. I'm going to sweat it out. I didn't get into the London Marathon, annoyingly, even though it's a double entry. And I didn't find out. I only found out because a friend did get into it. And then I had to go into my junk. But I knew the expectation was I'm not going to get in. So I just went, okay, I'll do Milton Keynes Marathon, which is on the bank holiday Monday. But I am not paying for that until the week before, because I paid for it in November or October last year and then got injured. And they don't do transfers. You can't delay it. Sorry, you can transfer it to somebody else, but they don't give you the option to defer, which I think is pretty poor, to be honest. So I'm only going to pay for it when I know I can run it, like the week before. That's what I'm going to do. Take it, cat. I love Diet Coke so much, but my dentist had banned me from having it because the fizziness ruins my gums. Do you have any thoughts on the death of Anne Widdecombe? I think it's absolutely astonishing. Those who have called her intolerant have actually been the most intolerant, e.g. Peter Thatcher. I talked about it a bit before. I think it's too early to tell and understand what's happened, but my thoughts that she is with Jesus. She's a really big Christian, and I hope that she really did give the murderer a gospel or something to think about in the way that she died as a Christian. Some of the stuff that's come out from the left is what I do see online is that people on the right, not on the more extreme right, because they can be quite intolerant of people, and the people on very extreme left can be very intolerant of people as well, is once you get past those, there needs to be compassion. But on the extremes, they're just horrendous. I mean, like horrendous. And the way the people on the left are supposed to be so compassionate and gracious to celebrate the murder of someone in such a horrific way and have no compassion to think she was aware of what was happening, perhaps. And that fear, to thrive on that fear, is horrendous and sick. And it should be one of those things that they shouldn't wish on the worst enemy if they had any compassion in them. So, as we always say, you always think there's a special place in hell for the people like this, but you would want them to repent and change their ways before they got to hell, because you want them to go to that special place, because that would be horrible, and that's not the Christian way. Okay, I'm an NITJ, so if you know the Myers-Briggs, I have an extremely hard time breaking out of clear-cut rules and showing grace to people. So I'm an ISTP, an internal thinker, and a messy person. So, yeah, grace is, but we have to. Jesus came with truth and grace, so he's showing us the way. Well, Wayfarer, shall we argue over whether it's pronounced schism or schism? We could split over that. That you know what, in England, with the younger generation, with what them watching TikTok, they come out with all the American ways of saying stuff, and it is getting a bit annoying now that we're losing our language through online social media. But I did see, so I had this discussion with my son the other day about Gen Z, and I always say I'm English, I'm going to call it Gen Z, and I do on my videos. I do it interchangeably in Gen Z or Gen Z. And he said, no, you can't, because they're known as Gen Z. That's the how they're known. And my argument is like, no, because it goes like Gen X, Gen Y, and Gen Z, Gen A, and so it's not like they're known as Gen Z. But his argument is like, but they've just become known as Gen Z across the world. So they're Gen Z, and you shouldn't say Gen Z. And I'm like, I just can't do it. So it's Gen Z all the way. HRELD. You're right. Sex has consequences and is actually a dangerous thing to treat as a hobby. Western society has grown too dismissive of its effects. Yeah. And I think like Frank Turek, when he said those things about the emotional level and the spiritual level, is something we just don't speak about. And the connection that lasts, we really need to, as a church, speak about these things. That's why God says the right place for sex is within marriage. Yeah. And look at getting some cholesterol tape for your ankle for the run, just to have that extra support and protection. Used it for a knee and made such a positive difference. You know, I was sat down before, went to pick up my son for the American football after he's doing American football. And I was there to sat with my, you got your knee up and your leg at an angle. And I was just twisting my ankle. And I was saying to my wife, it's still in what I did it back in November. It's supposed to take 3 to 6 months to heal. And just in the place, I think it's a place where I fractured it. It's still not right. It's still not right. So I need to, be careful. And maybe I get this. Oh, I always butcher the words. Chiesto tape. Is that right? Chiesto tape. I don't know. You can't say it back, but, or maybe I'll just take that you can't say it back and I'm saying it right. Mr. Baker, the popular run events, you need to book place earlier. Well, you do, but the Milton Keynes Marathon actually this year, when I looked just before, a week or two before, they weren't sold out. So, yeah, I think I can get in there. And that one's a good one because it's Bank Holiday Monday. So I don't have to take the Sunday off. So Oliver, just had our Sikh neighbour over earlier. He attends the same temple in Southampton which banned the murderer of Henry Novak. Good. Well, he can't go there, thank God, anyway, because he's in prison. But again, we also pray that in prison he comes to know Jesus and repents of what he does. Russell Valerie, we cheated at the camping weekend by slumming at the nearby pub. That's very with air conditioning. Do they have air conditioning? Billy NIFJ, not NIJF, because the J's got to come at the end. So Rocket Star, I think there would be less divorce if we brought back Pam's people or Legs and Co. What's the church's view? I can't speak on behalf of the church. Billy, you can see the questionable vicar shirt from the thumbnail. It was online CV Sunday service from last week. Oh, is it not? Are you not put the link in? I'm lazy. Put the link in because then I can just click on it. Russell Valerie, not being campers, we didn't see any point in spending hundreds of pounds on equipment we might never use again. Yeah. And if you went into a hot nylon tent, you would definitely never go into it again. Mr. Baker, so apparently Anne's murder suspect wasn't politically motivated. Interesting. Wonder if he was known to her. How terrible, whatever the truth. They do say the majority of murders are known by people. And it's, what did they say? Money, sex, power, something like that. They're the main contributors. So, but the latest person has been arrested in Yorkshire. But we have to wait, don't we? Because the other person, they said 26-year-old male got arrested actually in one of the villages my friend serves in, who I'm going on the trip, and was later released without charge or no further interest. But there's danger that person gets it mud sticks, you know what I mean? So there is an investigation. It is ongoing. So JKK, I thought some of the strongest arguments about the harm of sex outside marriage aren't even particularly Christian. Once someone begins to read up on the Right, I can't get this in my head. Philosophy. No, not philosophy. Come with people. Say it with me. I can't get it in my head. I can see it. I just can't pronounce it. You know, I say on videos, I can't do this. So I have to turn on my... This is what I literally do. You'll hear it now. I have to go onto my screen. I go copy, paste. And then I go pro. And then I hear it and I'm like, oh, that's how you say it.
Physiology.
Physiology. Physiology. Physiology. Physiology. There you go. Physiology. Okay. Once someone begins to read up on the physiology of sex, it's crazy, isn't it? What is that? I know one of you would tell me. What problem do I have there? I literally consider it. I just cannot pronounce it. It doesn't register. And it's certain words. It's like I don't know them. I have to learn them. Physiology. Welcome to my mind. JKK, a lot of it comes to boundaries, in that you wouldn't let someone have a piece of you that is not 100% committed to you. Sex leaves a permanent mark on you and on the other person. And that's the interesting thing, isn't it? That sex is not like a one-night stand, is not a one-night stand. There's an exchange that is there forever. And even as Christians, that we take into eternity, wherever people end up. A lot comes to boundaries. I read that. Billy, I did put the link in a couple of times, but that's the software of removing it. I didn't see it come up, but yeah. So we just have to Google it. JKK, sex designed to make you completely whole life vulnerable to the other person, and it should be the icing of the cake of the relationship, not creating intimacy. I saw this great video because this person was going, I think they said to the guy who was like a virgin, and why don't you have sex with lots of people? Because when you meet your wife, you're not going to be experienced. And his response was, it was just so beautiful and so simple. I can learn with her. Like, I was like, nailed it. You don't need to bring experience. You just have the enjoyment of learning together. And that was beautiful. It's like, absolutely, we got this thing about we must practice, we must be perfect sex partners, we're judged. No, let's have the fun learning together. Be good. Physiology. What's the physiology? Oh, you were doing it for me. Thank you very much. You like I said, it's what I have to do. Just get to some words, and I'm like, what is this? What is this? There we go. Title: do a search for a service of the fifth, and that's it. Right. Okay. Google search. Let's have a look at this shirt. There's something on my computer at the moment. If I click on a link, it doesn't come up. If I have to right click and open a new tab, and then it works.
When we're baptized, we become a...
What we got here? And that's an advert. He's wearing preaching bands. Lots of General Synod coming up. So, which Sunday did you say? The 5th Sunday. So that was last week. 6th Sunday after Trinity.
Welcome to the Church of England online service.
Oh, you know what? If I do that, I get a copyright strike. Not copyright strike. They go, you're playing someone else's thing. You've got to take that part out. So what I have done in the past when I did see services, interesting choice of shirt. So they did this the other day, right? Something popped up on my Instagram, I think, from the Church of England. And my first thing was, why didn't you iron your shirt? If you're going online in front of thousands of people, why didn't you iron? And I don't know if it was I think it was his shirt. The guy it was just creased. And this guy, it's interesting you noticed the red and the blue, but I noticed his shirt is creased. But that's because probably I do online live stream, and you look at those things. I'm like, why would the Church of England say, right, like they got 19,000 views and he dressed smartly. So Paul Wayfarer, try that word. Supposedly the longest word in the dictionary. And what does it mean? I'm going to have to pronunciation. Hopefully it'll pick this up. Oh, silly. YouTube, right click. Okay. Oh, I turned the adverts off now. So
of this word, designating the action or habit of estimating something as worthless. We are looking at how to pronounce floxinosinihilipilification. Floxinosinihilipilification.
So that is a word. That is a word. But how did that get invented? That's like, why? What's the history of that word? Like, so I'm just looking at it here. How did it get so invented? That's interesting. So, Billy, I got that video up. I'll have a look later. Russell Wallaby, we could only dream of aircon. It was sweltering. Well, good trying to get out of your heat when your brothers and sisters are suffering in nylon tents. So, Billy, would love to hear feedback if you have time to listen to the service at some point. Just didn't seem God focused, just all about footy. So, okay, let's do a quick thing here. I'm gonna do. Let's see. Just bear with as I get something from that. Let's see if I can do it. Yeah. And let me go over here. Get some feedback from AI. They could be contextual, to be honest, because it is the footy and trying to reach people. Oh. Let's see what AI comes up and says. It's thinking. So as that's going on, so the longest word used to be, I can't even. No, okay. So I'm not even going to go down a rabbit hole. And you can manage that word, but no chance on the other one. Billy, not now. You busy? I am busy. So I asked AI. I put the transcript in. Give me your thoughts on this Church of England service. Is it too much about football and not enough about Jesus, or am I wrong? AI says you're not wrong, and I think the transcript actually gives you sharper evidence than a vague impression would. Here's the core problem. The World Cup isn't used as an illustration that opens up the text. It's the organizing frame that the text gets bent to serve. You can see it in the move itself. So, you're right. What you're feeling there. And again, I think this is going back to what they were saying online. No, not online, at the General Synod. Where's this content coming from? Who's it serving? What are you trying to do? Just make it Christian. Just be explicit in what we believe and how we live our lives. You know, that service has reached 19,000 people, and it really needs to be Christ-centered. So, and for some people it will hit, but yeah. Billy, longest word used to be that Welsh town. No, that's still quite long, but I think it's the name of a town, and where these are words, I think they explain something. Mr. Baker, I'm listening, but practicing piano too. Oh, you should base your piano around what I'm saying. You know, dun 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 when it's doom and gloom, and then happy, tinkly when I'm laughing about words I can't pronounce. Or that could just be confusion. That could be jazz. That there's a word that Dan can't pronounce, and then you jazz it because. So, and spirit of discernment, doing some good work, calling that out to you, Billy. Yeah, exactly. You really have to discern. And I say this to my congregation. It's a danger if you just think, oh, Dan's the rector, he's saying all these things, he's right. What if I start to drift? What if I start to get things wrong? What if I start to get arrogant about myself? What if I start thinking it's all about me? People have to know the Bible and check things out themselves. Otherwise, it's too dangerous. It really is dangerous. And so everybody needs that spirit of discernment. Everybody does. To ensure they're not being taught falsely. Let me get this up for those who don't know the Two Holy Bikers website, where you can track us as we go around Europe and see where we're traveling to. I am going to do something, and bear with me as I get another thing up. Another window. This is another a link for you where I'm going to put a content. Hopefully, so many channels called Rev Dan. It's annoying that I got a channel called Rev Dan and it doesn't come up on my when I search for it. What's my channel called? Let's see if I can find it this way. Did I have a line in it? No. I don't know what my channel's called. I was going to give my other channel, and then I was going to put content up on there so you can kind of see what's happening. But sadly, I have no idea what my channel's called. So maybe I try to do it this way. And you can also go over to my Fulfilling Life channel. Okay, let me get it this way. This one just comes up with numbers. because I have recorded, or I am recording videos all the way to like the 5th of, so that's my Rev Dan channel, the 5th of September. So there's loads of really good, lovely content, devotionals, which are about 4 minutes long, and really encouraging. I really enjoy doing that. Not a big channel, but definitely something worth tuning into. And if you don't want to watch it, it's also on a podcast. So you can find it on a podcast as well. And let me go back. I just want to set you up. So that's my Fulfilling Life channel as well. So be good. Jesus only said the words the Father gave him. Yep. Yeah. Billy, interesting. The red shirt was a red flag. Wasn't red the color of Satan, and the two-tone shirt along with the sermon was concerning divided loyalty. You shall have no other God but me. I'll have a if I can listen. What I do. This is it. I meant to say before. If I see something on the Church of England like that, a Sunday service, if I was going to watch it, I would Google that church and find out where their theology was. If it's a liberal church, I wouldn't watch it. Just don't even watch it. Don't even go there. So, yeah. JK, I'm personally there, I say very pleasantly, amazed that there's any you're amazed that there's any evangelicals in the CV, given its history is very liturgical, sacramental tradition. Yeah. When I'm an evangelical, if you come to my church, it's very, we do communion every week. I wear robes, we got a choir and things like that. But I'm called to serve, and God's called me here. And so I'm serving here, and the church is growing. So, yeah. But there are a lot of very evangelical churches. The first church that I went to, what we call my sending church, because it sent me out to preach, to become a vicar, was a new building we built. And you would not think it was a Church of England church. You'd probably walk in and go, this is a Baptist church. Very modern, band, vicar, didn't wear a collar or anything. So, like I said before, we're very broad. Yeah, Paul Wayfair, we're a very broad church, too broad. Mr. Baker, playing Premier Gymnopedie by Sate. Chilled for a summer evening. That's another thing I'm going to have to Google to hear. Mr. Baker, awesome. Thanks, Rev, and have a fab trip. It will be amazing. And the Church of England church I attend is fairly evangelical, but has a couple of services that are more liturgical. So difficult to put a service together that fulfills everyone because of the breadth. And herein lies one of the problems of the Church of England, when we got Anglo-Catholic and evangelical, and what we try to do is make a service that tries to fit both, and you don't please anybody. I'm a real big fan of, and I think the data shows this. Do evangelical really well, do Anglo-Catholic really well. Stay in your lane, do it really well. People love it. Try to do this wishy-washy mishmash in the middle, and it's awful. It doesn't do anything for anybody. Be good. I follow the pilgrimage. Please pray at the shrines. Please pray for us at the shrines. Be praying for all you lot all the way around. Yeah, we definitely will. And on the website you can submit prayer requests where we'll be praying and taking the prayers. My friend calls them intentions, but yeah, definitely you can do that. Russell Valerie, it's amazing how many had camper vans and very expensive inflatable tents. There are plenty of other types of tents, though. No idea what they were made of. I saw that at New Wine, going down to New Wine, the amount of expensive tents, but also the amount of tents bought from Go Outdoors, because they were massive. But as soon as it rained, they leaked. Hence tarp going over the top of them. So, Billy, after this video, if you click on Rev Dan's name, that takes you to his homepage of this channel. Then click more by the description and all his channels come up. Ah, there you go. Thank you, Billy. That's very helpful. I forgot about that. There. Rev Dan will... There, you know, I've been thinking about this. There will be time. If a big story comes up, I might do a response to things. It keeps the channel ticking over. And then it keeps the channel ticking over. And then, yeah, then people want to hear my response, hopefully. But I want to build it revved up as well. That would be fun. I got plans for that for the future. That'd be fun. If you're interested in history, Christian history, revved up would be the place to go. Talk about finance. I still haven't decided. That's the problem. I was brought up in a high church tradition and haven't been in many evangelical COV churches. The funny thing is, I find them slightly shocking. But the thing is, you know, that's a good thing with the broad church. People who don't like the high church, they can go to low church, evangelical, and vice versa. Hanny's in the house. Oh, my voice went there. Hanny's in the house. Han, you might have been in the house for 20 minutes and I'm just catching up, but you're here. For the late, I would say you didn't need to apologize, but unless you did get here late, I don't know what time you got here. Billy, interestingly, the muted colors of clerical shirts really make the white of the dog collar stand out. The more bright the color of the shirt, you don't see the collar so clearly. I do find it interesting, the people who don't have a white collar, the people that have a design collar. I'm not all that traditional. Well, I am. And I don't mind the modern, but that rubs me. I think if there's one thing that I identify as a priest, and yeah, we all wear different colors and stuff, shirts, fine. Keep the color white. Making it different colors just doesn't do it for me at all. Billy's hand's in the house. Han is in the house. Billy, 23 watching. There was more watching before. Well, it's slightly gone down. It's fine. Whoever needs to be here needs to be here. Zoe, hello. Sorry I'm late. Han, and now Zoe's in the house. Han and Zoe now in the house. Had to restring a guitar, and to be honest, it was a pain. I can imagine. Sure, it's been brought up already, but terrible news about Anne Widdecombe. I hope you're all doing well. Yeah, we spoke about it a couple of times. Silver Rocket Star, you should follow the pilgrimage route of Queen Eleanor. Who's this? Well, I'm going to have to Google this one. Is this a current queen or something? Or in the past? I'm guessing it's something in the past. I couldn't spell pilgrimage. Great. Great. Where did she go? The Eleanor Crossway, Lincoln to London. Oh, it's a British one. Maybe it's something to do in the future. Can you do it by motorbike? That's the question. I think everyone who comes late will get is in the house. Then more people will come late. I've caught up. Harold. Maybe that's what I do on my sabbatical. Just take your name and then work out what I should do. Of Aquitaine. Be good. Queen Eleanor and her crosses, wherever they laid her body. I really haven't heard of this. So it's a 200-mile walk. Is that right? Oh no, that's a book. Oh no, here. The Queen Eleanor Pilgrimage retraces 200-mile 1290 funeral procession of Eleanor of Castile from Harby, where she died, to Westminster Abbey. King Edward I erected 12 memorial crosses, 3 of which still survives. Ah, that's cool. To mark every overnight stop of this epic historical journey. That's so cool. This is a motorbike. This is a revved up program. This is cool. The original procession route passes through several key stages, many of which can be followed using public modern footpaths. Okay, I might need to do roads. So, I don't think people appreciate my motorbike going through public footpaths. Oh, that's cool. Oh, but you can cycle or drive. Oh, I like that. I can't believe I never heard of this. But this is what this is all about. This is very cool. Billy, it was in a welcoming, nice way in the house, not a reprimand. So he God's in the house. He's always in house, in every house, at any time and everywhere. That's it. So Rocket Star, yes, you can do it by motorbike. I'm going to do it by motorbike. I'm going to do it by motorbike. Maybe that's what I could do in September. I want to do revved up, going to different places, traveling there by motorbike, and speaking about them. It's a very niche thing, but and it's a very self-indulgent. I think I come to the conclusion in my head with all the negativity of church news and all the frustration and things like that. I need the balance, and I need the creativity. I need to let the creativity out in that way. So we'll see. Be good. It's on the British Pilgrimage website. Oh, see, I've got so much to learn. See this? I need to get my head out the Christian negative news moaning into some positivity and bring positivity into the world. I'll still comment. I will still comment because you need a voice out there being a bit more sensible. But yeah, Billy, there is a channel I like to watch. Not my. I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only one. that's like me in the. I'll be wearing a Martin Kudley shirt next. It's all about me. Where the guy visits different churches and discusses the building and plays the organ. Yes, it is niche, but I love it. Exactly. The whole of YouTube is niche now. That's where you grow. The more niche, the more you grow, because you can't be broad anymore on YouTube, because you just get lost amongst the noise. You have to be niche. Silver Rocket Star, one cross in Northampton. So I need to go on to the British Pilgrimage website. So that will be cool. Billy, would love to see you visiting places. Yeah, it's my passion. Many years ago, I put a program idea that got to a production company and got pitched to the BBC many years ago, called Abandoned Places. I think I spoke about this before. And this is basically taking that idea and putting it on a motorbike and putting it to Christian. I wasn't a Christian back then. So, yeah, it will be good. And ask your questions quickly, because we're coming into the land scene. Russell Valerie, interested about your one way or the other regarding style of services? We have a worship band. I think it would be good to have at least a hymn sung at each service with the organ. Research shown and conversations I've had that stay in your lane and do it really well. Crossing over, it might work, but it doesn't work over the long term. It might be quite niche to do it, but trying to do doesn't really work. Paul Wayfarer, yes, the organ player guy is enjoyable. Oh, so it's interesting how this all gets around. Right, why have so YouTube telling me suddenly I've gone down to 6 people from 30 people. Maybe we're getting too niche. So things are dropped off. Maybe everyone's going to bed. Where are we? YKK, I have no interest in liturgy at all, even though I'm an Anglican. I just go to the church which has the best Bible teaching and is complementarian and reform leaning. Usually that's conservative evangelical COV. But again, that's what I mean. That's what's great about the Church of England, because it's broad. It's part of its downfall as well, in the broadness. But it means you've got that within the Church of England. For those who say, you know what, I am Anglican and I have got a home. Billy, Ben Mason, you took it away from me. You took it away from me. And okay, if possible, question 1. What is the actual Christian definition for the term Christendom in the biblical sense of the word? I wouldn't. Right, okay. Right. What is big? That would require a bit of research, because and it won't let me do something. Christ's kingdom. The reign of Christ's kingdom here. Christ bringing the kingdom. Oh, that's a big question. In a biblical sense. The Christian definition for the term Christendom in the biblical sense of the word. Christ's kingdom. Christ bringing his kingdom. Living. I don't think I'm going to do it justice. Okay, let me try chat through and have that in my head. Russell Valerie, we only have 1 Eucharist per month. I thought you were going to say then. I got ahead of myself. So I was thinking maybe we should make that a traditional Sunday service. Your thoughts, please. We only have 1 Eucharist per month. I don't think it'll work. Again, very recent research says that's what we had in my church when I first got here. We had a communion service, a non-communion service, a communion service, non-communion. And at the communion service, everybody was in robes. And at the non-communion service, you weren't. And there's a danger. One person came to the communion service and said, I love this. And then come the next week and they're going, what is this? It's completely different, and vice versa. And I think it confuses people. And people come for that service, like JKK goes to church for the preaching, and that's the good, and that's what feeds him. And then you say, right, we're one Sunday of the month we're going to just do worship. For those who like worship, it would just be like, well, I'm not going to that service then, because I didn't come for the worship. I didn't come for that. There's part of it that we sing hymns, but I'm really here for the teaching. And I think that's what happens if you do that. So I don't think it will work. But data says it doesn't. This is researchers. I'm hoping it will come out soon. But I've had a conversation with someone about it, and that's what the data is saying. Billy Salisbury, organist Ben Mayton. Oh, okay. So that's cool. Han, question 2, is writing fictional stories for a living considered unprofitable or even idolatry for a Christian? No, I wouldn't say. That's an easier question. Well, it could be unprofitable if you're not making any money and you need to make money. But it could be profitable. You never know. I wouldn't say it's idolatry. Christ is always at the center of your life. That's the number one thing. So it's perspective. Silver Rocket Star, I hear that abroad in Japan are looking for good stories. Would be great to see collaboration. What's abroad in Japan? I'm learning so much tonight. I feel like I'm going to miss out as I go Abroad. Chris Broad. Oh, I love it. I love it. Chris Broad. Abroad in Japan. I love it. I love it. Oh, the logical in my mind is just like, that's divine. That's brilliant. Paul Wafer, liturgy is Bible teaching. It is. It is. And when you read a lot of the liturgy, you realize how much Bible is in there. It's different people. I suppose it's how you see liturgy. I didn't like liturgy for a long time. And then as I got into it, I really enjoy liturgy because there's a lot of Bible in there. And question one, for question one, asking this because due to the rise of religious nationalists in the online and offline debating sphere, they tend to use and promote the term Christendom. Yeah, I get that. That's why I'm trying to not give a bad answer or a rushed answer, because I know there was a bit behind that. It feels like there's a bit of research. What do we mean by Christendom from a biblical perspective when it's being used for a nationalistic perspective? So I get where you're coming from. I don't think I can answer that straight away. Might be a video or yeah. What do I do now? I'm going away. And question two, I'm trying to think, can I answer it? Oh, okay. Question two, asking this as recently again, the more homeschooling Christian fundamentalist type is openly condemning all fiction, even those from Narnia to Tolkien. Really? C.S. Lewis and Tolkien? No. That's crazy. But that's the fundamentalist for you. Yeah, that's crazy. No, you can. And those are overtly Christian stories in a way that's read to so many children and given them a Christian basis without them even knowing until they get older. Yeah, that's not right. Billy, no, you are keeping an eye on the clock, so I wanted to say thanks again for your wise words tonight. They've helped so much. Praying for a safe journey on the travels. Okay, thank you. And about Japan, really hope that an actual Christian biblical revival actually takes place in every country. In every country, come Lord Jesus. Francis, reverting to earlier topic and disestablishmentarianism. So you put one word together, but the other word I cannot say. Have I still got the thing up? I think I still got it up. So Han, can I do any justice to your question? Where was it? The actual Christian definition of the term Christendom? No, I couldn't do any justification without butchering it. Ian's in the house. I just saw that where it's at. Billy, soz my internet had a power nap back now. Francis, so the anti-word is longer. Oh, anti-disestablishmentarianism. Oh, okay, is longer. Oh, that's interesting and an easier word to say. Ian's in the house. Welcome, Ian. Han, for question two again, their rationale is because such fiction tend to compromise the actual biblical gospel due to the use of magic and pagan terms such as wizards. I think, I think their minds works in terms of absolutisms. You either can do it or you can't do it. And the absolutism in one way is saying you can't distinguish between a wizard being a real thing and a fictional thing. Yes, you can. I read and was read The Lion, the Witch, and a Wardrobe when I was a child. And I really don't think it did me any harm whatsoever. I don't come into the Christian faith going, all of this fictional stuff, this fantasy fictional stuff is real, because I absolutely believed it as a child. It's fundamentalism, which we don't really need again. And I tell you what, my friend, it sounds like you are doing a good fight over there in Singapore. And speaking to our mutual friend, who he's doing a good fight, and I know how hard it is over there. Keep going and keep fighting. I know he is as well. Keep fighting the good fight. Zoe, that words are too long and it hurts my brain. Yeah, don't even ask me to attempt to spell it or say it even. Paul Wayfair, I wonder what they think of Pilgrim's Progress. Yeah. Could you imagine? One of the greatest books, in my opinion, outside the Bible. They would hate it. And such a great book. And what's wrong with C.S. Lewis? In our opinion, not much. Billy, I had a massive dip when it went down to 6 people. I don't know if anyone can tell me what happened. It literally went down to 5 people. People are coming back now, but I don't know what happened around 9:55. Was there a national blackout or something? Billy, I struggle with the metal word for aluminium, so I prefer the American pronunciation. No, don't get there. No. Aluminum. Han, okay, so the term absolutism in this mindset is not wise to be at all. Not at all. Absolute that Jesus is on the throne, that Christ is our Lord and Savior. Absolute in that, but not in this. Jacob K, my Christian mum actively encouraged me to read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, even when I hated reading it. Well, good on her. Good on her. Silver Rocket Star Grand Wizard will be the new term for the Archbishop Canterbury suit. Billy, 28 watching now. Mr. Baker's still here. I don't know what happened. Yeah, it's a bit weird. But, my friends, as everyone returns, and I know it's 10 past 10. Let me see if I can get, where's my finger? Right there. That little set of books there. That's the complete works of C.S. Lewis. The Narnia and the other ones, the Voyager and all those. I haven't read them. I bought them for my son. He never read them. And my daughter won't. So they're sat there. Maybe I should read them. Ian, had 2 people in my church, Holy Trinity in Dartford, who are doing the Pilgrim's Walk to Canterbury. They were from Tennessee. Oh, very cool. The Pilgrim walks, which are actually getting better, are being rediscovered and more promoted, are bringing in a lot of people to do them, and that's a really good thing. Zoe, and LOTR. I don't know what LOTR is. I'm too old. Lord of the Rings. I got it. Not too old for that. And about the C.S. Lewis, recently there is more pushback in the more fundamental circle due to what they find in his personal beliefs and doctrinal statements. Yeah. And when we go down that route, and we start, what they do is try to separate the wheat from the chaff and make them the perfect holy of holies. And then they start attacking each other because they realize that one of them has a doctrinal belief that they didn't believe. Again, if it's first order issue, there's a massive, that's a salvational, that's a massive no-go. But if it's second or third, there's things that we just have to agree to disagree, and we'll find out later, but it's not going to stop us getting to heaven. And we got all eternity to argue about it for fun. But yeah, I wouldn't want to be in those fundamental circles. Oh, what a horrible place to be. In fact, that's the thing. That's what I want to talk about with Rev Dan. It's such a negative place, such a negative channel. And you can go down a rabbit hole, and you need to protect your... I read an email. Someone sent me an email, and I got to respond. But I read it yesterday. And just a real kind soul just emailed me and say, you need to look after yourself. It's a negative space, basically, you're in. And you need to take it easy and take some time off. But the thing is, you become negative, and your language and the way you speak and the way you treat people can become. You see it online. So there's am I being gracious? Am I being Christ-like? We always have to check ourselves. Always have to check ourselves. Am I becoming fundamental? Is this damaging me? Is this damaging the gospel? Is this damaging the way people see Christ in me? Is this building people up? Are they seeing the fruits of the Spirit in me? Or am I just being grumbling? Or so am I bringing lament? So yeah, so many things. Am I being a moaning Minnie? Am I going to get upstairs to God and he's just going to rebuke me for just my language and the way I treated people, and moaning and moaning and moaning, and not showing the fruits of the Spirit to people, not bringing hope? These are the things you carry. So pray for me that I can do that in a gracious way, but in a truthful way as well. But I got 6 weeks on a motorbike. Think about this. So woohoo! Let's have fun. So Ian, currently reading Miracles by Mr. Lewis. Mr. Lewis is such an influential person. Sorry, I'm just taking my socks off. Let my feet breathe. Right, Paul Wave, we're coming to land. Paul Wave, I think some Christians feel uncomfortable at Christ using a whip to clear the temple of the moneylenders. Yep, that's the other side of it as well. Billy, you are light in the darkness, and there is sure a lot of darkness around right now. Your Sunday chats are a safe space. Good. I'm glad that you find that. That's important. And to be frank, a lot of professing Christians have either very foul or malicious mouths in their typing or words online. I see it, and that's why I check myself. I see it. I see those things. In fact, when I see them now, and the algorithm always tries to send me new people, I just stop. I said, get out. I don't want to. Nah. Don't want this false stuff, or not false. I'm not saying they're false Christians. It's just the way they speak. Don't need it. And you should just tell the algorithm, not interested. So next week, no live stream because England are winning the World Cup. Praise be to God. It's coming home. Please, Lord, it's coming home. And then I'm on. So we're talking early September. So, and be good. Yeah, you're right. We have all fall short of the glory of God, and that's the good. That's the equalizer for all of us. Vincent, it's coming home. It is coming home. So, I pray that you're all safe, and I know this community is important to you. And our Sunday nights, I miss the Sunday nights. Maybe if I'm in my tent, I pop on. We'll see. I don't think though. It'd be too hot and sweaty. But yeah. I pray that you're safe. Let's just have a quick prayer, and then we'll go to bed, and I'll recover my voice. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this community. Thank you for the way it is formed, and we thank you how we look after each other and we love each other. And just over the next few weeks, Lord, we just pray that Sunday nights are filled with something great in each one of these wonderful people's lives. And Lord, we just pray for resuming in September, and of being light in the darkness in the world. Amen. So, where are we? Yeah, I'm gonna JKK. We do pray for your antidepressants to start working. And most of all, we pray for Christ to heal. That would be the great thing. But we have these things to help as well. And there's no shame in them as well. No shame. And I think that's it. Is that it? I think that's it. That's a good place to land. So follow me for a daily devotional on my channel, Filling Life. And for updates, I don't know how it will work, but go to Rev Dan and I'll try to get updates. And you see me getting thinner and thinner as the fat sweats off me as I go around my trip to find Mary. See you September. Bye.